Hello, everyone. This is Jonathan Matos of GraphicallyChristian.com, a place for Christian artists to share their independent art, a place where I post my own comics, and thankfully, someone that has inspired me recently, someone in the independent comic scene, Gene Luen Yang, who created American Born Chinese, and more recently, a graphic novel, Shadow Hero, is with us. Thank you for coming, Gene.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
You're coming from a place of independent comics, doing a lot of stories about your culture and about some that interpret your own life, your own background. Let us all know, how did you get into writing? What was the thing that inspired you to start writing and writing comics, or just writing in general?
Well, I started collecting comics in the 5th grade, and even before that, I had a deep love for story. I also had a deep love for drawing. Comics just seemed like a really natural way of combining these two loves. You know, I grew up in an immigrant household. My parents are both immigrants, and I think it's true for parents in general, but especially immigrant parents. I think a lot of immigrant parents will tell their kids lots of stories as a way of connecting them to the culture that they left. And that's certainly true of my parents. I grew up with all these stories around me, most of them from Chinese culture. And I just knew from an early age that this was something that I wanted to do too. I wanted to tell stories in some way, in some form.
I think that's one thing that, just to share with you, was something that I really gravitated towards because my dad is from Puerto Rico, and so I really appreciated how, and I think that I'm glad that First Second Books was able to give you a place to do this, that you were able to share a lot of your culture, a lot of these stories that don't normally get to be told in comics, in your first couple graphic novels. But I'm curious as to how this kind of figures into the new movement that DC is doing, because about a month ago, I kind of shared on our website. Some people might not remember this, but I showed some of the sample images that were being promoted about this movement at DC called DCU. And so, can you talk a little bit about how you got involved with this DCU initiative?
Well, I have an agent who negotiates all my contracts, and she had a meeting with some of the folks at DC, and out of that meeting came this offer. They asked if I would be interested in writing Superman for them, and I said yes. I mean, it's kind of a nerve-wracking thing, you know. I grew up reading superheroes, starting in the 5th grade. I'm a huge superhero fan, and to get to work on the very first character, the very first superhero character is kind of nuts. I think it's one of those things where I definitely would not have sought it out because it's just too intimidating. I definitely would not have sought out trying to write Superman as my first big two superhero. But at the same time, it's not something that I could say no to. You know, it's such a huge opportunity. I just had to do it. I had to jump in. It's been kind of crazy. It really feels like jumping in an ocean.
Right, and as a comics fan for a little while now, John Romita Jr. and Klaus Janson are two of those names that I think are they're very recognizable, and I'm personally a big fan of them. So when I came across your name and the fact that you were being teamed with these two talents, it was just, I had to pick up the book. So I wanted you to discuss, what was it like to work with these two people?
It was awesome. I'm a huge fan of them as well. You know, when I was in high school, I went to a local comic book convention and I lined up to get John Romita Jr.'s autograph. So to go from there to here, where I actually get to work with him, where he actually knows my name, it's kind of a nutty thing. And then Klaus Janson, Dark Knight Returns is one of those books that kept me in comics, that convinced me that comics could be something more crazy. I get emails from them now. Like they'll send out their pencils or they'll send out their inks, and it's a nutty thing.
Right, I'm sure it is. And so to get back to your own work, I have to say I love it personally. From American-born Chinese, the Boxers and Saints, and more recent the Shadow Hero. What was it like to transition from writing a character that you created to writing Superman? What were the challenges? What were the things that surprised you as a benefit of it?
Well, the DC universe is actually the second corporate-owned universe that I've gotten to play in. I've been on the Avatar Last Airbender comics for a while now.
Right.
I've been on for like 3 or 4 years, and that was my first taste of writing stories for characters that I don't own, writing stories that are set in a pre-existing universe with a pre-existing set of rules. The DC universe is definitely more complicated. It's been around longer than the Avatar universe has. And it's also gone through several different iterations, and it's had a history of a bunch of really brilliant creative minds working in there. Avatar Last Airbender has only been around for almost a decade now, and the creators of the Avatar series are still alive, so I actually get to talk to them, whereas unfortunately the creators of Superman are no longer with us. So it really because Superman's been around for so long, he's gone through all these different eras where different creative teams will emphasize different aspects of his personality, of who he is. So for me, I think what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to figure out what parts of his past eras most resonate with me, and kind of write a story out of that.
And more along those lines, I was kind of thinking as I was reading Shadow Hero, which if some of you don't know, is the story of a hero that from the golden age of comics was not really... It was kind of a hero that was heavily influenced by Chinese culture, but in the end was not really allowed to be as much labeled a Chinese character as the creator Chu Heng may have wanted. So Gene Luen was able to bring some of that out in a kind of reimagined origin called Shadow Hero. And a lot of what is explored in there is what it means to be an American from the perspective of an immigrant. And do you feel that this chance to write Superman was to bring some of your own perspective to the superhero, or was it more of an opportunity to explore a different character or a different perspective?
Yeah, I think Superman isn't just a prototypical superhero. He's also a prototypical immigrant. He's from another culture. His parents are non-English speaking. He's trying to make a better life for himself in America. And his creators were both the sons of immigrants, or the sons of these Jewish immigrants from Europe. And consciously or not, I think they really embedded parts of their own personal narrative into this character that they created. So it's all there. I think that's the part of the character that I most easily connect with. The fact that he has all these aspects of the immigrant experience woven into who he is. So I hope that during my run on Superman that I'll be able to explore that a little bit more. For this first storyline, however, we're focusing more on Superman being the man of tomorrow and what that means. I think when Superman was first created, being a man of tomorrow, like the whole concept of tomorrow was just different. Back then, Americans thought of the future in physical terms. They thought of technology making us faster and stronger, and that's what Superman was. He's this really fast, really strong guy. But nowadays, when we think of the future, we think more in terms of information technology. So in this first storyline, we're having Superman get pitted against a villain who embodies information technology.
Right, and I've been reading the book so far. I think that it's something that Superman fans, should check out just because it is it's a different take, and if they're not aware of the books that you've done so far, having a writer of your caliber on Superman, I think is something that people need to pay attention to, and also, as we both mentioned, having John Romita Jr.'s art and Klaus Janson's inks on it is not going to hurt the book at all. So I'd like to thank you again for coming in and coming to the show, and for taking the time out to do this interview.